Yes, I.
Yes, I.
From the
Greetings in the
past.
name of His Imperial Majesty.
Aile I, Selassie I. Greetings, my
Yes,
brother.
I. Sabbath blessings, my brother. Can you see the eye?
No, I cannot see the eye. Can just hear you.
Okay. Okay. Stand by. Stand by. All right, now.
Yes, I.
Now, can you see the eye? All
Yeah,
right.
now that's good.
Rastafari, bless and love, my brother.
Peace and love.
Yes, I. Where the eye
Blessing.
from?
From France. Yes, I.
From
From,
France. Ah,
yeah,
okay.
West
Yes,
France.
I.
And what about the eye?
West France. All right. From Puerto Rico, but currently in the U.S. in
Okay,
Texas. Currently,
okay,
yes.
okay.
Yes, I. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So
So,
how's France?
cool,
So
cool,
how's
cool,
the
cool.
family?
Family is good. Everything
Everyone
is good.
blessed?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, everything blessed. But in the belly of the beast with all their Babylonian things and things like that, I guess it's the
Right, right,
same, but still good.
right.
Jah is here,
Yeah.
guide.
Well, exactly, exactly. Through it all, there's always gonna be evil out there trying to reign over good. But as His Majesty said, we have to be confident in the victory of good over evil. So no
That's
matter
true.
how much evil Babylon put out there,
That's true.
Babylon will not ultimately prevail over good. Good will always prevail over
That's
evil,
true.
my brother.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yes,
true. His
we have
Majesty
to
said
keep
that.
the faith and we have to keep on pushing forward always
Yeah, that's true.
with a heart of love every time, my brother. Yes, I.
Yes, I.
Yeah,
So so it looks like it's the I and myself that's on here right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, Rasfako is here. Nando too. Give thanks, blessed
Okay, okay.
love, brethren.
Yes, I.
Rastafari.
Greetings in
Yes,
the name
love.
of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, the first and Empress Mennonite Jah Rastafari.
Rastafari.
Bless the I.
Aye.
Blessing love to the I and to the family. Yes, I.
Yes, yeah.
Thanks.
So,
Give
yes,
thanks for
it's
your
an honor and
presence,
a
Russ
pleasure to
Louis.
be. Yes, I.
Yes, I
Give
know.
thanks, Ras Flacco.
But you,
Yes, I.
you want to create opportunities for you to speak, straight. But there are many things that the youths are concerned with, and even I as Asians also, because we're using technology now, which is better than first time. Now, and then there are so many literature on Rastafari, so many research papers, and we don't actually, some are facts, some are not facts, but the reality that faces us today is that we really want to reason on. And there's a generation change. Many Asians are not here anymore, and from that sense, I have to realize that the youth have a say. The youth have a sense of direction, and I have to listen to the youth now, even as an ancient myself, to see how we can connect, how best we can go forward as one Rastafari nation.
That's true.
Because it's a collective strength we are looking on. It is not the time of running and hide and not the time of swallowing a spliff and flicking a spliff. It's the time of intellectual capacity. Because what we learn, from my point of view, most of the ancients were not able to go to school. They didn't have that opportunity. Now, as Bongo Kotti says, it's a red carpet time. One can go to school, one can learn, one can be a part. And then I look in and say, well, then uh, herb smoking is good, ITAL is good, the liberty is good, but the education side of Rastafari is lacking. For my part, for my experience, I want to draw on what the youths are saying educationally, how the youths have a positive look on Rastafari, different from herb and ital and different kind of liberty and reggae. Because that's what we want to see. Want to hear from youths themselves, how they view Rastafari, what challenges they are faced, how are their educational standards, how will they use their education to develop the Rastafari movement. And that is basically one of a series of reasoning from the youth's point of view, how they see things. You know, so we hope that even if it is few of us, we will still have a reasoning according to the topics which are posed, and we could have a sense of responsibility that we could also share and move on. Now is the time to
Yeah,
get things going. Give thanks.
yes, I. So perhaps I can start on my point of view. Given His Majesty said himself, if you look at the literature on His Majesty, you have big, big books, a lot of speech on every concern of life, political and even personal and things like that. And when you look at education, he said that when you have the benefit to go to school, and you can go to school, it depends on the country and things like that, but you have to use your skills for the building of the nation. And we know that Rastafari today is a new nation, so we have to use these skills that we acquired here to put into practice, like in the Rastafari movement, even in connection with the different brethren, where we can go and use, even if it's the universities. Here, I did a degree in psychology in France, so I just finished it in October, and I know that now I can use all the skills that I had with like old people and dementia and things like that to go and help even the ancients near Ayman here in France, but even go to Jamaica or even Africa to help people and the nation in this kind of sense.
Give thanks. So from the list of things, what topic you think is best that we could start? Or you want me to read them out and so we could refresh ourselves?
Yeah, you can do that.
Yes, please.
That's true.
Okay. What we are a bunch of maybe with five. Rastafari youths moving forward in the 21st century. That's one. Rastafari educational status and opportunities. Rastafari survival skills. Rastafari male and female relationship and family life. And also viewpoint on Rastafari house and mansions. We have those things for today, so we could start. And anyone, and since there's a moderator, Congo Bryce, I could set the time and go forward with
Yeah,
that.
that's true. Yeah, that's true, because we have approximately like 10 minutes if we want to cover each topics.
Okay.
So that's fine. So perhaps we can start with the first one. Or ask Louis, what do you want to start?
Well, I think starting in the different mansions, uh, simply due to I and I own experience, when His Majesty came to I and the inborn concept started within my heart, there were many brethren and sisters that I've spoken with, and each one had a different point of view or a different mindset in the sense of Rastafari. And then there were ones that were burn out the color of one's skin. There were ones that would burn out the eyeball. There's ones that burn out this and that. But yet we're still praising the Most High Jah. So in the beginning for I and I own trod, it it I don't want to use the word difficult, but it was somewhat of a challenge trying to find my way, so to speak, if that makes any sense. So if it's possible, if we can reason a little bit on the specific mansions and that last topic there, if that's okay,
Yeah, we
just
can
so
do
that
that.
I can get a better understanding on the way each and everyone else interprets the word.
Yeah, we can do that. That's true. The last one. So what do you want to speak about to us, Louis? So it's more like at times in Jamaica, the time changed because in the 70s or 80s, all the Rasta were together in one group, in one place, one country. But now with
Right.
the growth of Rastafari, you have different individuals, but who are alone in their own place, and though they don't have access to the teachings of the different mentions, they just pick up some ideas there and there, some truth, and it's just more like a free trade time now from my own experience. Because when you go to Jamaica, you have the different orders, and here I know that in Europe, I don't see, in France actually, I don't see this kind of thing. So it's more like free trade levity in different parts of the world.
Okay. Could I add something?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Relating to Rastafari House and Mansion, it's like a biblical conception. In my father's house there are many mansions.
Yeah, that's
Yes, sir.
So the ancients of Rastafari started a biblical outlook. So we will have historically the Nyabingi, which is the first house and mansion. Then you'll have Baba Shanti, EABIC. Then you have the 12 tribe of Israel. But there are many Rastafari who are not associated with house or mansion, which is crucial. You'll have Rastafari who are birdites. The Rastafari who just eat raw foods. They just trod, idle bash, long rod. But what we have learned and seen, those generations are not there anymore, because most of those ones are ancestors now.
that's true. That's true.
What we would have mostly is a Nyabingi still, Bobo Shanti, we'll have 12 tribes same way, and the few who are more sympathetic to Rastafari, they might not have any locks, but they say, I am Rastafari, because my father, my grandfather, my so and so are Rastafari also. And they might say, okay, I am Rastafari because I smoke ganja and I eat Aita. That's how they mostly would define themselves.
Same.
But critically, when we look and see the inception of Rastafari from the early days, what Rastafari represents, and you'll have to look on Jamaica on a whole, why Rastafari came about is because of mostly anti-colonial struggle. As far as you can look, that's what you see. And then if you come forward to now, you will see that Rastafari have been rehabilitated in the sense of anyone can wear locks, anyone can say Rastafari. You look at ganja, which is being decriminalized, and medical marijuana. So Rastafari is hitting a soft spot, not on the revolutionary status that they had before, not unlike a priest Brown who would take to the forum, or not we have passed the Car Garden atrocity, we have passed the Bacawal bulldozing. So Rastafari is basically having a comfort zone within themselves, which is wrong in the sense of what Rastafari stands for. So when you look on all of that, how are you feeling? What have you drawn from the experience of Rastafari themselves? Because the youths of today may not even realize where Rastafari is coming from until now. They might see the red, gold, and green, they might see the ganja, they might hear the reggae music, but then the reggae music is changing form so much. It is not the reggae in my youthful days, but who is inspiring Rastafari to step the different kind of reggae. So, so what we are saying, when we examine the role of houses and mansions, because they are still divided, because the Baba Shanti will say, well then, red on top, Nyabingi will say, no, it's green. One say, no, we don't need a star in the emblem. One say, we need a lion banner in the emblem, you see. So there's a lot of disagreement. Rastafari presents themselves. But the question that we will also ask, who is His Majesty to you now? And that will define who you really are. Not from your emblems and what you eat and what you smoke. It's the character of His Majesty that defines the Rastafari movement. Guys, seeing? And I think that's where the focus is. So having take all the semantics and looking on the real thing, what make you Rastafari? How do you stand as Rastafari? What are you contributing now to Rastafari growth and development? Because what we realize, the history cannot change of the movement. But I in this time don't need to run from police. You don't need to swallow a split. We can go to school. So it's Rastafari today. That's what we are focused in. So it's good to hear how do you see Rastafari today? What is the relationship with their family and friends? And what educationally, what course can a pursue? Remembering that the ancients did not go to school.
Right.
The ancients will chant, they are battle axe and weapons of war. They're on a battlefield for His Majesty. The victory is won. For His Majesty come to Jamaica. We cannot deny that. To leave Rastafari alone, they know what they are doing. And that
Yes, sir.
seal a chapter. His Majesty claimed Rastafari as his own. So having done that, we need to look on the duties now of Rastafari, knowing that His Majesty is for education, for development, is for growth. So are we still willing to stick to the herb and the ganja and the ital, which is still good? Or are we willing to step to a different level of Rastafari movement? And that is a challenge for the youths of today because the ancients are moving fast as ancestors. I think that's a reality, so let's see what Ross Lewis has to say.
Well, so personally, to I, Rastafari stands for more than just smoking ganja, eating Ito, because again, anybody can eat Ito. Anybody can smoke ganja nowadays, now that they're decriminalizing, like the I said. Um, Anybody can wear locks. In fact, there's a lot of people that wear locks just for show. So to I personally, that that is just a small part of the bigger whole, so to speak.
Sure.
The main thing for and just it's just the way that I've grown into this Rastafari concept, mindset, liberty, is that again, everything starts from within. It has to be truly a calling within your heart. So for I'll just give you a brief synopsis of my experience. Growing up, I've always heard the words and the lyrics of, the great Bob Marley and Peter Tosh and many others. But it wasn't until I started to get a little older that I started to really key in on those lyrics as far as Haile Selassie. So there came a part in my heart that I said, who is this man that they keep talking about? Who is this great king that they keep mentioning of? So in my own trod, there was a deep desire to seek knowledge, to read books, to talk to individuals that know more than I, because as His Majesty said, knowledge is power. So we have to take responsibility, and it's our duty to make sure that we continue to seek that knowledge, and also to look at other teachings and only choose the good. That's what His Majesty said. So to I, it was a inborn concept of growing from within before it even started to manifest itself on the outer appearance. So it was always inner sense of seeking that truth, of seeking that knowledge that the ancients kept talking about. So to Rastafari again means a lot more than just those those typical stereotypes that Rastafari tends to have to the outside world. In other words, those individuals that don't know of the king. So, but once I started to learn more, and once I started to seek and actually gain some wisdom that I once did not have, but now I do have, I started to see that it's 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 simpler than people tend to put it. It's 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 a liberty, it's a way of life, it's a way of living righteously, not just speaking righteously. Because I've also come in contact with ones and ones that they speak, they speak well, they speak righteously, but when you analyze the way they act, the way they treat others, it's it says a completely different thing. So to I and I, Rastafari also stands for living righteously, not just speaking righteously, because we all have good talk, but how do you treat others? How do you love? How do you show love? So so to I and I again, Rastafari has been a calling in the sense of consciousness, in the sense of knowing the truth and knowing that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, knowing that there is more to life than just what we see with our own two eyes, and also treating ones and ones with respect and love in each and every way, because love is truly the essence of Jah. Jah is love. Without love, there isn't Jah, right? And Jah said, in order to enter the or it's just I and I own understanding is that in order to enter the gates of Zion, and Zion may not necessarily to be to ones and ones or to each and every one the same thing. Like to some, Zion might signify Ethiopia. Zion might signify heaven. Zion might signify a state of consciousness. So, in order to enter that state of consciousness of the knowing, in order to enter or to live within heaven, because to I and I, heaven is all of the earth. Where we are, what we're doing, what we're experiencing is a part of heaven to I and I. That's just my own understanding of it. So, in in order to enter this state of consciousness or to order for your spirit to move on in righteousness and to Zion, you have to show love. Without love, you can't enter the gates of Zion. So that has been a great blessing to I and I to be able to understand that concept and that reality and that mindset and consciousness of Rastafari. Now, I will say as well that during my own trod, it's been somewhat of a challenge to find a specific way of helping or spreading the consciousness of Rastafari in the sex of the youth showing the works and moving forward in progression, because there's because there's so many different viewpoints, so many different ways of trotting, that it's somewhat almost a challenge to find a almost like a blueprint, I guess is the best way that I can explain it, as to how we can go about doing that. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I agree that each one of his own trad, each one will say they are inspired. Some say it's an inborn concept. Some will follow holistic livity. Some will ital, some will be birdites. Each one have a different calling. You have ancients who say that, oh, His Majesty come to them, giving them specific instructions. So it is good to find what makes the I Rastafari then, the I own self. So it is not a comparison with anyone. It's out of the I self that is coming out. The I is seen, and from there is satisfied with the teaching of His Majesty, from there is satisfied with liberty, and as the I say, is love. 'Cause love has no boundary, love has no color, love has no creed.
Yes,
And
sir.
that makes you stand out instead of trying to follow what other people says, wherein education is important too. And you see, we still will compare, but within that comparison is within the eye now the truth will come out to see who you really are. Because someone will say, like within a relationship circle, a virgin might have a daughter and say, okay, you have to locks to be with me. She grow locks because of him. And when something is wrong, she cut the locks and she's gone. She's
Right.
no Rasta. She's suiting his
True.
liberty. I
True.
see. So within the child, it takes time to grow locks. It takes time to learn. It takes time to be yourself. But when you are there, you are solid.
Yes,
You're
sir.
not shifting in any direction. You are Rastafari, 100%.
Brother.
I see. And that's the strength that I man have, and that is the strength that I see coming out of the eye same way. You know, although it's a blueprint, you make your own. I've been looking on the blueprint and see which part of it fits me, which road I'm going, which road I should take. But the chart which is there for you is the chart of His Majesty and His teachings.
Yes, sir.
And that is the blueprint of the Rastafari liberty. I've been look on everything. Most want to say we are Rastafari, but then what teachings of His Majesty you are abiding with? Are you stand for? They might not, they don't know, or maybe they don't even read a speech. They don't sit into a conference, they don't watch a video, they don't know nothing.
Right.
You know? Because even when you look on how some of the things say, man is discriminated, his mother says that he doesn't deal with discrimination wherever it is found. But see, many people would have Rastafari banner and them fight and them quarrel because of skin color.
Right.
And that doesn't make you Rastafari. If you can still see beyond skin color, you're not Rastafari, you're something else. So, you know, these because barriers you use to look on yourself and say, how will I match with the speech of His Majesty? How can I be a better person having studied the speech of His Majesty? And that's the liberty, that's the template, and that's the blueprint. It might take us a long time to be there. But remember, we were babies and we grow up until we are adults and I'm ancient seeming. So it takes a time, it's a journey. But within that journey, the focus is the same. Guys, saying it's good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Give thanks.
Yeah, man.
Give
You
thanks.
see, we have other things to also. Is that okay? So those things are very clear. We can overs. Okay, Congo Bryce, what else we can discuss?
Yeah, I see that we have 10 more minutes because after that we have to do another conference. So we have 10 more minutes, so perhaps we can do a general topic.
Okay, so should we look on Rastafari youth moving forward in the 21st century?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, okay. Okay, Russell, we back. Rastafari youth moving forward in the 21st century. What do you think?
What do I think? I think that the the truth, the truth and the liberty and the teachings of His Majesty are becoming more and more accepted within the youth, just by my own experience, just by those ones and ones that I come in contact with and I speak with. I see that it's more of I see the younger generation now more accepting to His Majesty and accepting to the liberty. And again, putting all that extra stuff aside as far as the ganja, the aitu, and I'm talking about truly the teachings of His Majesty, reading on the teachings and also trying to put in works as far as helping the elders, whatever way they can, or even just helping their own community. Um, that's just what I've seen so far. But I would like, if it's possible for the eye, to kind of elaborate on ways that Rastafari youth as I and I can move forward and also uh, um, bring more of that positive light of Rastafari, but also how does the I recommend moving forward as far as putting in works?
Okay. Rosnandor, you're here. Could I give a little viewpoint on Rastafari youth moving 21st century for I?
Well, first of all, I give thanks and praise into the name of the Most High Jah, Rastafari,
Rastafari.
and I acknowledge the Empress Menam Asfal, also as the balance of the masculine and the feminine. I give thanks to the Trinity of life. It's a blessing, Ras Flacco, to see the eye face to face, and I give thanks for all the wise minds and inspiration I was given through the internet, and it's been a real blessing for I, you know. And also Congo Bryce and Rustler is a great pleasure to see and meet through this medium of the internet and this amazing technology that allows I and I to together.
Yes, sir.
I think it's here so I live in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and the conditions here are possibly different from other places, and a lot of what I've heard is, you know, I relate to what's happening here, where there's many people who fly the colours and say Ja Rastafari and go to a reggae concert and smoke up the ganja, but the knowledge of His Majesty is very limited. And so, as has been said, you know, for I and I here, those of us who try to hold to the way, I suppose a big thing is just trying to spread His Majesty's teachings and the understanding of what Rastafari really is about. And trying to live a full life to show people the blessings that come from the liberty. And the words about education, I think, are important too. You know, because when one reads His Majesty's words, it's really it's a guide to life and a guide to progression and development, and it's such profound. You know, how to move forward with life and how to build up the positivity. And I think for a lot of young people here, though, so a lot of Rastafari, I didn't come from all walks of life, but there's a very strong presence of Maori and Pacific Island people within the only mansion that I know have here, which is the 12 tribes. So there's no Bingi or Boa Shanti house here, and many Rasta who've never been involved with the 12 tribes because it's, you know, it's a different kind of lineage, and so the a lot of people who feel more kind of attracted to Ngāi Bingi or Boa Shanti are just kind of independent Rasta really, just find their own way. And a lot of people who had no contact really with any Rastafari organization and just come upon the conscious music and then finding His Majesty's words and people finding their own inner guidance, and which is good because it gives the strength, you know. But also it means that people don't have that ability to come together and share and so build positive works collectively. So yeah, so I think moving forward, it's like how for the young people, because so a lot of Maori and Pacific Island become attracted to the teachings of Rastafari, but then the message of you know, repatriation, if you're Maori, to repatriate is to go back to your tribal lands. And so a lot of Maori people who are now strong in Maori Tinoranga Tiratanga movement came through Rastafari, and it led them to their own Maori tikanga and mātauranga Maori, you know. So so for young people now, I think it's an understanding of what does Rastafari mean for them? How does Rastafari liberty and teachings and way, how does that benefit, or not so much benefit, but how does it give meaning and purpose for their life? And so I think that's for I think for a lot of young people, they don't understand the purpose and the meaning that there is, because they don't have access to those full teachings, and so I think yeah, spreading the understanding of His Majesty's teachings and words and liberty, I think, and then because that's such a blessing for people when they find it.
See, yes, I. True.
If that's yes, I because I pretty what Nando are saying is very important, because it's about the teaching of His Majesty, and that is it. So that would take us forward in the 21st century within the oneness of Rastafari.
See.
Because even at gatherings, say Anaya Bingi, we will hear more chants and more anti-colonial struggles, and the teaching of His Majesty is not being explored to the fullness that we could say, yes, that's the part we want to go. Because if we are stuck with the traditional rituals are fine enough, is that makes Rastafari today. You can't go around that. And you're looking at Rastafari from the 20th century, in the 1920s, from Fitzgerald Ballantyne, from Arthur Rogers, who will PB to Marcus Garvey, to Bongo Watto, Bongo Puro, now, because the greater part of the generation have passed their ancestors. And what stands out today for all of them, if not most, the teaching of His Majesty. Even in the early days, they did not have the teaching of His Majesty like us. They were more biblical.
Yes.
Ancients is the one who could say the Psalms back to back. When people burn Bible, but ancients don't burn Bible. The Bible that brings them into the reality of Rastafari today. No matter what people want to say, is biblical. Most ancients, they read Psalms non-stop. They know it by heart. See me? Today, they are different. So what should be today, replace it? We don't gonna really replace the Psalms, but we're gonna spend more time on teaching of His Majesty the way forward, because His Majesty is earth rightful ruler.
Yes, I.
And that's an important thing. So what? And we are the children of His Majesty. So how much are we learning from the teaching of His Majesty? How much can we refer to His teachings? How much can we share it? Because it is a Rastafari movement built on the teaching of Rastafari. Because I is called Rastafari. Guys, and within that liberty, that will take us forward within the 21st century and beyond. Because the responsibility of I as children is to preserve the teaching of His Majesty as best we can. We already have the chants and prayer keys and all of that, but within that space, teaching of His Majesty is still missing to the extent to carry us through. And I think we should hold on to that more, so that for going forward in the 21st century, emphasis and guidance should be the teaching of His Majesty, how we can be mobilize ourselves to collective security, or that's a part of the teaching of His Majesty. Sustainable development. Now that we are saying the world is in a COVID crisis, what is Rastafari food security? What is Rastafari views politically? Rastafari says that we are non-political and non-partisan. What are the youth saying about We don't have to get involved in it, because everything is politics. Around your family is politics. Same way you have to make decisions. A politician is a person who makes decisions for different purposes. How can we organize and centralize the Rastafari movement? Because we also learned there should be one voice in the Rastafari movement. Maybe we'll have disagreements with the 12 tribe Bobo Shanti, the ones who are non-Rastafari, in the sense that non-Rastafari mean that they are no mansion. They are just ital tribe, freelance tribe. So within the collectiveness of Rastafari is the teaching of His Majesty we should pull from as one who more political, you know, because Majesty is more political than biblical. When you read His Majesty's speeches, or when you read the prophecies, His Majesty more a governor, a king that has us as his family. So we have to see from which speeches of His Majesty we can pull strength, so we can move on. You know, so those are the things that we need to look on in wherever we meet, wherever we group. We even family members, we sit with family, because you see family and children the same way, you see. So it's our best. We can draw on more on teaching of His Majesty to take us forward. Give thanks.